Hello beautiful people, and welcome back to another video. So in this video I'm going to be talking more so about how I studied throughout PA school and how I studied to not have to study as hard when I was getting ready to take the PANCE. So how I studied in didactic year, how I studied in clinical year, and then how I studied leading up to the PANCE after I graduated. So first, starting off, as I've explained in my previous videos, y'all, you know your girl had a hard time studying. Okay, let's just lay it out on the table once again. Graduated top 10% of my class at the end of the day, got to college, and I was like, what in the world is going on? I didn't know how to study. I didn't know, because I didn't have to in high school, basically. And so it took me a long time to actually learn how to study, what way works best for me. And I ultimately figured out just I think it was my senior year in undergrad, and then when I went to go get my master's, just kind of, basically my study method is writing it down. Like, I would take notes, and I literally wrote down everything. When I'm taking notes, I write down everything. Like, I want to write it down word for word, exactly what you said. So I would go back, listen to the recordings if I needed to, but I would write down everything, and then I would go home and rewrite whatever I wrote. So I learned best by rewriting. And then also it was like memory recall for me, because it was like, okay, I remember what this was on this paper and where it was. And then those kind of things kind of helped me in my journey of learning how to study. So basically in PA school, I did the same thing. I would take notes. I had the Notability app because that was very helpful for me. I took notes on an iPad with the pen and on the Notability app. So I would download the PowerPoint to take notes directly on the PowerPoint. That way it kind of saved me some time from having to write down everything. I literally can just fill in words or fill in on the side of the PowerPoint whatever I wanted to take notes on. And actually, if my iPad's charged, I will go back and kind of show just like a little snippet of what that looks like. Actually, give me one second. Let me see. So this is what my iPad looked like, and I had it with the pen. And then this is the Notability app. I kind of just like would open this app. Let's see. Let me just pull up one of my notes. I'll just pull up, see which one will open fastest. Okay, so basically I would have the entire PowerPoint downloaded, and I would take notes because this is what they were presenting on the big screen, and then I would just go page by page and add in whatever I wanted to add in with my pen, of course. I love this app. I did everything I got through PA school on my iPad. Yes, I used my computer. Excuse me, a little choking spell. Yes, I use my computer very often, but my iPad, that's we locked in. Okay. So yeah, I would take notes on my iPad, and then I still went home and rewrote my notes. I also want to add that when I went back home to study, I listened to the lectures again, but on 2 times the speed of normal, and just quickly jotted down things that I might have missed, or just like a second lecture for the day, and kind of just reinforcing what I already learned. Notes, and let me show you. So I changed it up depending on the semester and what I was learning. I would take notes like this. I literally bullet point, write it down, have some good old fashioned college rule paper, and I loved like colored pens, because then I could like just write in different colors. So a lot of times I would change topics in different colors. But then there was one spurt, especially when we were going through like ear, nose, and throat, and even the hematology section. That's what this one is. It was literally like little sections. Okay, this is polycythemia vera, this is von Willebrand's, like just different diseases, and then I separate them by like little squigglies and like just different little boxes, just make it look kind of pretty. And this one actually really helped me a lot. And it was just like, you know, the big bullet points and basics of each: importance, disease diagnosis, like just, you know, the basic stuff that you would need for PA school. And another thing that's helpful is if you go through the syllabus. I never did this, but it's very helpful. If you go through the syllabus and the objectives and study off of that, basically that will help you in the long run as well. So that's pretty much how I studied during clinical year. Of course, I studied with friends. I would use Rosh review as well. And then I also use PANCE Pearls. I use PANCE Pearls as well. And everybody, if you in PA school, you know PANCE Pearls is that girl. Well, actually guy, because it's a guy, Dwayne Johnson, that made it. But she's that girl, okay? And this is what PANCE Pearls looks like. There's 2 volumes. This is, I think, the 1st edition. Nope, this is the 3rd edition. They came out a new one toward the end of my didactic year. And I stuck with this one. It's pretty much making modifications, of course, as you know, on any edition, adding, taking out, rearranging, things like that. There's 2 volumes, and each one, it tells you on the back what's in each volume. So it's perfect. These books, absolutely amazing. Like, literally goes over every topic. It has it bolded for important things you need to know. Talks about, so this is, let's see, let's go to, okay, yeah, so it has, if something's autosomal dominant, like who you will most likely see it in, pathophysiology. It talks about the clinical manifestations, physical exam, what would you see, diagnosis, and then how would you manage it. And a lot of times they had these pretty little charts in here to help you kind of, if there were 2 things that kind of basically looked just alike, or look just alike, sounded just alike, but there's like maybe one difference or a smaller difference, he'll put it in like a chart or even a picture to kind of help with learning. A lot of my classmates, or some of my classmates, used what is that, osmosis? No, which I did use Osmosis online. That's a website that you can use to, like, for, they have videos, just further explanations of things. That's actually a really good one. And I went in, like, that's an expensive membership. I think for 2 years, it was like $400. So me and 2 other friends, we split it 3 ways. And so it came out to like 100 and something each. And then, of course, we were all never using it at the same time, to be real. So we just split it. We all knew the password. And Picmonic. It was Picmonic. Oh my gosh. Picmonic, yes, uses a lot of pictures. If you are a visual person, pictures help you learn, use Picmonic. That was didactic year. Clinical year, I pretty much almost did the same thing. So I will go to my rotation. I would take notes. Like, I carried around a little pocket notebook, smaller than this. Like, this is the size of my hand almost. It was probably almost the size of my hand. It was probably like this big. And I took notes in it, and I will go home and write down those notes in a notebook that was kind of like this. It was thicker, but I can't find mine. I do not know what I did with it for the life of me. But it was thicker than this, and I literally wrote down what I wrote in from this notebook, transferred it to this notebook, and I would study. Y'all, I continue to study through clinical year. There was some of my classmates, a lot of my classmates actually, who didn't study during clinical year, or didn't study as effectively, I should say. We still had to take tests, inter-rotation tests and everything like that. But I literally dedicated at minimum 45 minutes to an hour every night, most nights, I would say, and study. Like, I would take the PANCE Pearls book and go over a topic. So I would say, okay, well, today I'm going to focus on Graves' disease, or today I'm going to focus on this. All you need is one topic. Y'all, the rotation's 4 to 5 weeks long. So if you are doing a family, it was within the rotation that I was doing, mind you. So if I'm on a family medicine rotation, or let's pick women's health. If I'm on a women's health rotation, I would go by just certain things, like, okay, today I'm going to focus on endometriosis, okay, adenomyosis, okay, what about fibroids, like breast cancer, like just different things like that, and then take notes on those. And they were in this notebook. And then, mind you, I also did questions on Rosh review as well. not only because of the end of rotation exam, but I would go to that topic on Rosh review, do those questions, and then if I got it wrong, I wrote it down in my notebook. If I got it wrong, I wrote it down in my notebook. And guys, I did not just write it down in my notebook. I will go back and reread. So like the next day, if I'm like, oh, what was that I got wrong yesterday? I can't remember. I went to the notebook because it was there. If I got it wrong, it was in here. If I got it right and I knew it was right, I did not write it down, because it's like, why am I restudying or studying the material that I know that I already know? So I would write down the stuff that I got wrong, and then I would just focus on those things. And then if I keep getting it wrong, I keep writing it. And what about it? I just keep writing it, because that's what helps me remember, repetition. And like I said before, I'm a girl that learns from failure. If I know that I keep getting wrong, it's going to bother me until I get it right. So I'm going to keep writing it until I get it. That's pretty much how I studied in clinical year. Again, I would take my notes from my rotation. I would go home, rewrite those. I would study that night still. Not long, nothing. It does not need to be anything long. Like if you need the time, great. But I feel like I didn't need that time because I pushed myself hard to study during didactic, because I knew where I came from. I knew that it's hard for me to study. I knew that I knew what it took for me to be able to retain the materials and continue to retain the material and continue to perform well. So I studied hard during didactic year. That way, when I got to clinical year, a lot of it was just review and keeping up with that review. And then, so when we got to our end of year, like right before we graduated, we had 2 big exams or 3 big exams. They were kind of like the PANCE pretty much. I think it was 3. It was the PAEA. Is that it? PAEA? Yeah. And then we had 2 for our class. There was a mock PANCE, and then there was like the real big end of didactic or end of PA school exam. I didn't have to study like super hard for those. It was just like muscle memory type thing. It was basically going over the things that I did not know. And a lot of the things that I studied came from this notebook. So yes, I went over PANCE prep pearls, and I was like, okay, I would do this during like clinical year and stuff. I would go say to dermatology. I would go to dermatology section, and then I would go back. Okay, do I know about this one? Yeah, I'm pretty good on that. Okay, next. Do I know about this one? Yep, I know about that. Good. What about this one? You know what? I'm a little shaky on that. So let's go through it. Let's write it. Let's do a little bit more digging, and then I'll go do questions on it. And another thing that I use for questions for like during clinical year was final step review. Now I have it on my iPad. I did not have the hard copy of this one, but I do have it on my iPad. It's this one. I don't know if I can make this bigger, but it's this final step review right here. It comes in a book, like hard copy, and all it is questions on one side, answers on another. So I would make this big so I can't see the answers. And then see, this is a whole section on infectious disease. Let me go to page 1. So this is the book. Literally is just like the book. Okay, and then it has a table of contents with which it breaks down where, if you're studying a certain subject, where exactly can you find this subject. So if I want to go to the infectious disease, I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to go to page 91. Page 91. Takes me there. I make it bigger so I don't see the answers, and then go from there. The term Philadelphia chromosome should make you think of what diagnosis. Okay. CML, chronic myelocytic leukemia. But yeah, so I would basically do that and go through each question, and you have pages on pages on pages of, well, it goes straight to the hematology. Did I go to the wrong page? I was going to say, hold on, infectious disease. When I read that question I was asking y'all, I was like, this is Hematology. That's weird. Did I go to page 91? Now I'm getting confused. Hold on, let me double check, because am I on the right page? Because that did not make any sense at all. If y'all can see the look on my face, I'm like, infectious disease 98. Hematological system was 91. I was like, whoa, that is weird. But yeah, 98, and it takes me to infectious disease. You could also, I think you could search too, like, because this is an update, it looks different than when I was using it, so I don't know exactly how it's supposed to be used. But if I searched over here, infectious disease or something like that, or if I want to pull up a diagnosis or disease, I was just searching in my Notability app, and then of course it will pull up in everywhere it is. But I think there's a way you can search within the book, but with this new update, I'm not sure how it works, because I have not looked at this in almost 2 years, a year and a half, roughly. But yeah, that's that. Another thing I did on clinical rotations was I made use of my time. So yes, I had a good time in whatever city I was in. I spent time with family, but on my car rides to work, a lot of them were 15, 20, 30 minutes plus. And if I was driving, like my one rotation that I told y'all about, where I came 3 hours home, like at the end of the week, and then 3 hours back at the beginning of the week. Podcasts. Some of my favorite podcasts that I listen to. And let me make sure, because I know 2 of them off the top of my head. Let me pull up my notes. So it's the Physician Assistant Exam Review podcast. Love that podcast. Actually, that's the creator of the Final Step book. He is amazing. Like, he breaks it down. I listen to his books all the time. I mean, his podcasts all the time. On my rides, all the time. And then also Cram the Pance. That's another one. His was really good. Quick recall. Questions. He has questions at the beginning, questions at the end. Kind of like a getting your mind ready for what you're about to learn, and then re-asking those same questions to see if you retained anything. Loved it. And then one that's really short that I did listen to before each rotation, just to kind of get my mind right before the rotation, was the AAPA crash rotation. Yeah, AAPA rotation crash course. AAPA rotation crash course. That's a short podcast. It's literally maybe 30 minutes, I think, but it just goes over like, I don't know, like 6 rotations or so. It's not long at all. Just to kind of before the rotation, what to expect, what to catch up on before you go to rotation, so you don't look like a fool. But they only updated, it was like 6 episodes, and I think that's it. Because I feel like the last time it was updated was like 2019 or 2020 or something like that. But it's just something still to kind of refresh your mind. But the Physician Assistant Exam Review podcast, great. Cram the Pance, great. Physician Assistant Exam Review. He's also on Instagram, and I believe he does questions. That's another thing, questions. So on my Instagram, I follow the Physician Assistant Exam Review. I follow AAPA. I follow, there's another one. Y'all are on my phone because my camera's acting up. I will list them below, because there's like, I think Osmosis I follow, but there's another one. There's a female that has one. It's just questions where they ask questions and like review questions pretty much. And it's like, okay, since I'm on social media anyway, I want those things to kind of trigger and come along my timeline. And then they have, what's the question? Some of them have the answer. Some of them have the explanations as to why this answer is right and why the other answer is wrong. So I have to filter through and kind of find what those are, and I'll link them below. And then finally, when I was studying for my PANCE, like I said, I studied all throughout Didactic. I studied not too much during clinicals, but I studied during clinicals. There are some people, like I said, that prefer to just like, breather, right? No. I did not have time. I was like, I ain't got time to be studying again and again and again, take this test over and over again, to lose any of this material, this hard earned material that is already in my brain. I ain't have time to lose none of that, and I didn't. So when it came time for me to study for the PANCE, I did not have to study as hard because I put in all the work throughout my 2.5 years of PA school, right? So again, I used the PANCE Prep Pearls book. I would, basically, me, of course, I didn't study alone. I never studied alone. I always had, there was either a group of us that studied, or there'll be like 2 or 3 of us, or sometimes just 1 or 2 of, just me and another one of my best friends that I would study with. Most of the time it's me and her, but we studied all the time together. We would ask each other questions. We would go through the PANCE Prep Pearls book and basically just go through topics like, okay, let's start with cardiovascular this time. Or some days it would be, not some days because each day was different, but we would start with what is the bulk of the test. So if you go to the PAEA, I believe, let's see, I believe it's the PAEA, and they have a blueprint. Yeah, blueprint for the PANCE. And so a lot of that, it's the NCCPA website actually. They have it. And it will break down the percentage of each thing on the test, tasks, and then major medical concepts. So I would highly suggest going through that. We definitely went through that and utilized that. We use PANCE Prep Pearls to get through that by subject. The app for PANCE Prep Pearls is also amazing. You do have to pay for it, but it's pretty good as well. And then, of course, we use Rosh Review. We had Rosh Review, like the study pack. That was split. We split that too. And we took questions off of that. And then another thing, the last book that I mentioned, there's another one. It's a green book. I'll link it below because I did not buy it, but I think there were some other people who found it helpful. Is this book right here. It's actually the guy who wrote PANCE Prep Pearls, Dwayne. He wrote this. This is his PANCE PANRE question book. And it's basically 6 tests. I think it's 600 exam questions and answers. So they're in test format. So I timed myself. I would say, okay, well, each section has 100 questions. So I would take 100 minutes and take the test. So I really wanted like 100 minutes. 1 minute per. So I would take the test with 100 minutes. And then each question, he broke down. So this is question 1, and this is all the information from question 1, why each thing is correct and why the other ones are not correct. So I did this after graduating PA school in the midst of studying for my PANCE. So I graduated PA school December 17th, 2022. Took a vacation. Went out the country, Came back beginning of January. We went hard, and I took the PANCE like the 13th or 18th or something like that, teens of January. I was not playing. If I could have taken the test December 18th, I would have, but I couldn't because they closed for the holidays and they did not open back up until January. So I took it the middle of January. Yeah, and that's pretty much all I've got to say. Study throughout. Do not slack off thinking just because you are on clinicals, that's your time to kind of relax and take a breather. Yes, do those things. Go out to eat, find new adventures, go hiking, do all the things that you couldn't do in PA school, but please take at least 4 days throughout the week and just study for 45 minutes to an hour. And that way it won't be as hard when it comes to these 3 or 4 or however many exams you have at the end of PA school when you're getting ready to graduate. That's very taxing, like having to study for all of those tests. So I would suggest studying throughout. That way when it came to those tests, it won't be as hard. You won't have to put in as much work and be as stressed out. And same thing that goes with the pants. So I hope you find this video helpful. As I said before, all the links will be down below. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, please, please, please link them below. I do read every single one of them. I appreciate them. And I'll see you guys soon in my next video. Bye-bye for now.